Today on the Diz List, we discuss the top 5 things for first-timers at Walt Disney World.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that ranks everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to episode 43, where we discuss the top 5 things for first-timers at Walt Disney World.
We've got a lot of stuff that happened this week. Holy cow.
We do. And before we get to that, say thanks to everybody for listening to the last 2 episodes. I know before I went out there, I had sort of a moderate excitement to sort of seek out things that, I mean, before we committed to going, I was like, yeah, Disneyland exists, but, I'm not going there, so whatever. But I hope those episodes have at least, excited people to think about going there and checking it out.
Or people who've never been there but are Disney World people.
Yeah.
It gives them some inspiration about some stuff. I don't even know where to start about the stuff that went on this week. So
There's a lot.
So I'm going to do, there's not a lot of, normally we do the positivity sandwich, the teacher style.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we can because there's really only one positive thing, and I don't even know if it's positive.
Well, and I know there's one you're fired up about. You want to start with that one?
Sure.
Just to kind of get that one off your plate.
So I've got an issue with DVC this week, and they're out here printing money, turning the cabins at Fort Wilderness into DVC. And I've got no problem with adding DVC property. I've got no problem with them doing those sorts of things and those rehabs of existing buildings. They are taking one of the only options that sleeps 6 people at a moderate price point and turning it into a DVC resort, which removes it from a moderate price point.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So the cabins that currently exist, I've seen them before. I mean, they're okay. They're not horrible. Are they taking the current existing ones and fixing them?
Yeah.
Are they leveling them? What?
Well, I mean, I don't know that they're leveling them, so to speak, but let's consider this a complete and total overhaul of those cabins.
So they'll keep the bones because right now they look like log cabins.
And they're old and they're showing their age and there's some issues with them, but that's the charm. And I looked up, if you went this summer in the middle of July, be about roughly $450 a night. That's about $50 more a night than the family suites over at Pop Century.
Right.
And it is about $100 cheaper than staying in a family suite at Art of Animation.
So the family suites, I think there's 2 places. One I know was Lion King because we had one booked there at Art of Animation.
Right, so Art of Animation ones.
And there's a Nemo one, I think, too.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the themes are. I think the themes, for me, don't matter. The fact of the matter is that they are...
The price and the space.
There's $100... If you have a family of 6...
Right.
You don't have a lot of options at Disney World.
Right. What are your choices? You book 2 rooms, you squeeze 2 on a cot.
You book 2 rooms, or you've got the family suites. Now, the family suite, like I said, at Art of Animation is about $100 more a night than the cabins are over at Fort Wilderness, which are only $50 more a night than over at Pop Century. I take issue with DVC, with them looking at this as an opportunity to get A, money for the corporation, right?
Yeah.
And B, they're taking an opportunity away from the middle, the moderate price point. And they keep saying they don't want to look like they're elitist, right? They are legitimately doing this. That's pricing those people out. I just have an issue with that. I don't like it. I don't like the looks of what the cabins look like. I think they look sleek and they look modern. They're great, but that's not what Fort Wilderness is about. That's my issue.
No. I think Fort Wilderness has kind of always been the rustic, horseback riding, fishing, archery, let's enjoy camping, but also, we're going to enjoy our trip to Walt Disney World at the same time, which I know is huge in the 80s.
Yeah.
I know that it was a big, big deal then.
Yeah, because even getting 2 rooms over at All-Star Sports, that's more expensive than getting one of those cabins.
Yeah.
Speaking of All-Star Sports, right now, there's some cheer competition or dance competition going on down in Disney.
I don't know what you're getting at.
And I don't know if you saw the picture I sent you.
What?
About
No.
the parents that are chilling in the fountains.
Oh, is that what that was?
Those were cheer parents.
I got that picture. I didn't know.
Those were parents from a cheer squad.
And what did it say? It said it was in Epcot?
Is in the Italy fountains in Epcot.
Oh, my Lord.
Just lounging in the fountains with drinks.
Oh, my God.
Like, what kind of entitlement do you have to have? I was online and people were ranting and raving that like there are kids all over Epcot World Showcase doing like the stunting that they do for cheering. And a cast member commented, please tell a cast member because they get points docked and they can get disqualified for that. It's not safe. It's not safe for people around them.
No.
Somebody falls. Man, the entitlement, the level of entitlement to think that, hey, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go sit in this fountain.
The world is made for me.
Very clearly. They're the ones who are, hey, my family's just right up there, skipping the lines.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to judge all, of the groups that go there, but that's what this group was. Okay. That group, it was a group of parents from an Edmonton, Alberta cheer squad.
Oh, wow. You have a lot of specifics.
Yeah. They had the name of the squad and everything because people were so mad that they went and looked through and found these people, found out who they were, and then blasted them, put them on blast. I mean, it's ridiculous. You're laying down in the fountains in Italy. Like, that's a lot.
Wow.
So as much as I'd like to talk about that hot topic, I'd like to move to another hot topic, which is the fire that happened last night in Disneyland.
I saw the pictures of it. Actually, my daughter came in and showed it to me, and my first thought was that it happened at Disney World, and it was the same Maleficent again.
Yeah,
and
I thought it was.
And then you said Disneyland. I go, oh.
Yeah, it's at Fantasmic, not in the parade.
Then it all made sense.
And it was massive. There's they had to evacuate. Luckily, from the reports I'm seeing, nobody was injured.
Yike.
But, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That was a big fire. Not a small fire. It was a big fire.
I'm assuming there's video somewhere of it too. I only saw a still shot.
I watched the video, and there's one video where you can hear the announcement of, due to unforeseen circumstances, tonight's show has been canceled. And then you hear, ba-boom, and an explosion.
Yikes.
And I'm like, yeah, you think? like the head of Maleficent just basically blows, because it's where all the gases, because it breathes fire.
Yeah.
They said they think it's a complete loss. And that they're going to have to either shut down the show for a while or just cut that portion out and never redo that.
So they'll have to take the audio track and cut that part of the audio track.
I mean, I don't know what they'll do, but I couldn't believe it when I saw that video. I was like, oof, that's like you at first, because it said Maleficent's on fire.
And it's happened at Disney World.
Yeah, and I'm like, are you kidding me? During the parade, it started again. And then I realized it's dark out. They don't do a parade at night. And then I saw, that it was Fantasmic over in Disneyland. So that's scary, and I'm glad that all the cast members were able to get away.
Yeah.
So those were three really negative things. We have something positive to talk about Disney World this week?
Let's think. I'm trying to think of what I saw. Oh, yes, there is. There's a great one. We're going to end with a great one.
Okay, good.
We had Earth Day yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And Earth Day happens to be the 25th anniversary of one of my favorite parks. Well, I guess they're kind of all my favorite parks, but it still is.
It's way up there for me, too.
And that is Animal Kingdom.
Yeah,
25th anniversary.
I forgot about that. I didn't forget because yesterday I was following along with people who were there. That looked like they had a lot of cool characters there, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Some pretty, obscure ones.
Brother Bear.
Yeah. I saw Brother Bear. Baloo was out.
I love Baloo.
Was Jane walking around, too,
yes.
I think?
Yeah.
So that was cool.
And the other Tarzan, the character that Rosie O'Donnell played.
Yeah. I can't remember the name.
I can't remember the name.
But yeah, was walking around as well. Yeah. I think that's cool. When they do the obscure characters and have them come out. And Moana finally made her appearance over in Animal Kingdom.
Good.
So that's good.
Seeing Moana is great. And I know it's just a cast member dressed up, but when you're there and you're in that magical moment, it's really Moana.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I agree.
My daughter, who just turned 16, happy birthday, she sees Moana and she lit up. Yeah. As a 16-year-old who can easily be too cool was not.
Yeah.
And she was like, yep, I want to get my picture taken with Moana. It's
Absolutely.
great.
I mean, that's what it's all about. And like, you can just suspend that disbelief for a little bit.
Yep.
So I don't know. I thought the videos that were coming out of Animal Kingdom yesterday were awesome. I hope they still have some merch, some 25th anniversary merch there this summer.
Some of it's nice. Like, I'm not a huge Loungefly backpack guy, but the Loungefly backpack, have you seen it?
I did not.
Check it out. It's really cool. It's, mostly brown with like kind of Animal Kingdom inscriptions all over it. But when you open up the flap on the top, it's not like a zip. It's like a flap.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It looks kind of Indiana Jonesy to me. But when you open it up on the inside, it's like colorful and zebra pattern, like very, very cool.
Cool. I'll have to check it out.
There's some really nice 25th anniversary
I'll take a look at
stuff.
it away from my daughter so I don't have to buy it.
That's smart.
Yeah,
your wife might want one too. She does have pretty good taste.
It'd be a good park bag maybe. I don't know.
Yep,
we'll see.
It's really cool.
So I forgot that was a positive thing that happened this week. I'm glad we got to finish off. I'm glad we got to finish off something positive here before we.
Yeah, definitely. And we could talk about one of our favorite parks for sure. Yeah. I mean, we don't talk about that park as much, but a lot of people still like to call it the half-day park. It's not. I mean, we love it, and there's so much to do.
We've got 2 days there this summer.
Oh, great!
So that we can just lounge and do our thing. Maybe grab a drink at Nomad Lounge. Maybe, we're definitely going to do the animation station. So that's going to be fun.
Good.
The
You'll
animation,
love it.
What do they call it? The animation experience at the
Rafiki's Planet Watch.
Yeah, and
it was fun.
Yeah,
it's good for all ages. It's and look at it this way: regardless of any listener's artistic ability, I say this all the time. It does not matter. It's about the experience, and it's about learning from a Disney animator.
Well, going out there at all, Rafiki's Planet Watch,
fun.
There's a reason it made our hidden gems list.
Yeah, it is. Like, not many people know it exists, and it's funny because it's the same thing at Disney California Adventure. That whole area inside is so hidden. You don't see it. It's just these 2 doors you open up, and there's all these experiences inside. The closest thing I can compare it to is it's kind of like a movie theater where you walk in and there's a big open area with doors going off of it.
Yeah.
And that's when you go in the different experiences.
Cool.
So again, the animation in both parks tends to be a really special hidden gem.
Yeah. I'm glad that you got to experience it over there in Disneyland as well.
You will someday too.
I know. I hope so.
All right. Well, that was a good way with some positivity to end here. But I know we have actually some really great news for our halftime show.
Yeah. So this week, our halftime show is brought to you by Rope Drop and Park Hop, a Disney podcast who we are going to be guesting on. We're going to record tomorrow. But we're really excited. They are basically the female versions of us. They're two people who are friends in real life but their difference is that not only are they women, they are also West Coast people.
Yes.
So they don't live on the West Coast, but they are Disneylanders. And so we're going to actually do a fun episode about the top 5 things that Walt Disney World does better. And that's going to be being released over on their platform. I'm really excited for it. They're really great. They've been supporters of us from the beginning, so I'm super excited about working with them tomorrow.
Yep. And once we do that, we'll let everybody know where to go, how to listen, and follow them too.
Yeah, absolutely. Go and follow them over on Instagram at Rope Drop Park Hop. We will certainly be posting a lot more stuff about the episode as it comes, but we're going to head off to the halftime show. Okay, so we wanted to extend an opportunity to anybody who's looking to maybe grow their business, grow their podcast, and maybe grow their reach on their social media platforms. But this time, our halftime show that we've come to call it could be sponsored by you, where we could let listeners know exactly where to find you and what your product is and what you're all about. If you're looking to sponsor the halftime show, if you reach out to us over on our Instagram or our Twitter at DizListPod, we will gladly talk to you about an opportunity to have you on as a sponsor of the DizList Podcast halftime show.
Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and even earn money, all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. No matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. When you want to take your conversation with your fans to the next level, Q&A and polls are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. Best of all, it's totally free, and there's no catch. When we discovered Spotify for Podcasters, we unlocked a door to a world where we could celebrate our passion, and we could create a community around what we love. I highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started.
Welcome back to episode 43 of the Diz List podcast. Rob, this week we're going to talk about our top 5 things that first-timers need to do at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, and this stuff is fun. And I know a lot of times we get into the weeds with real specific things, and I love doing that, but I equally love just going back to the big picture stuff and focusing on things that are, well, for example, let's say you listen to the show, or you know us, or someone has suggested the show, and you're looking at all these crazy specifics, and then you see this one. Must-dos on your first trip. You got to listen to it.
Well, I think it's kind of like going to a concert, right? So if you go to a concert of a band you've been following your whole life, you want to hear the deep cuts, but you also want the person who you're bringing for the first time to hear to hear the hits.
That's a great comparison.
And this to me is like the hits episode.
Definitely.
Yep. So I think that when you talk about going, like we've done a must-dos episode, but it was like our must-dos.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, these are things you really should do your first trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited because I think we might overlap on some, but I think we're also going to have some different ones where you're like, yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's definitely a must-do for your first trip.
Right.
So
have we ever exactly matched up? I wonder if anyone is, or you remember this stuff. You have a good brain for this kind of thing.
We have not ever 100% matched up.
Right. Well, that was my first thought. But then I went to how many have we matched? I feel like we've done 3 out of 5 before.
Yeah, there was an early episode where we did 3 out of 5.
It was
like the worst rides, I think.
Yeah, I think we both had a 3 out of 5 for that
Yeah.
one. All right, let's get started with the list here. My number 5 is one thing that has become something that seems obvious for everybody, but we didn't really do at the beginning because I was so focused on doing this ride and this ride and this ride and this ride that I didn't stop and pull back and get a classic Disney snack. Just a snack here or there. Just chill. Like we did that on our DCA trip. We just got a snack, sat back, and just relaxed a little bit.
So
this is
a classic
snack.
Yeah.
So Dole Whip, Mickey bar, popcorn, cupcake,
Yep.
maybe hot dog you could throw on there too.
Yeah.
Maybe turkey leg if that's your
Oh my
thing.
God.
Not my thing, but it's on the list. You see people eating them all the time. So
I call that bird ham.
do they actually prepare it like they do the jamon, they call it in
Jamon.
I'm going with because when we went to
cured.
Spain,
It's cured.
we went to Spain and that's how they pronounce it. I'm not trying to be a jerk.
No, I know
it's jamon. That's how they pronounced it.
Yeah. So they cure
This
it.
is going to be the part that you put on social media. Rob pronouncing it the right way.
That's fun. All right. So
Anyway, classic Disney snack. Dole Whip, Mickey bar, popcorn. So it's kind of a double-edged sword here. So it's a classic snack and just chilling for a minute. And just like take a quick time out. Don't worry about what you're going to book. I almost said Fast Pass. Don't worry about what your next lightning lane is going to be. Enjoy a Disney classic snack. And you can do it anywhere in the park. It doesn't have to do with, booking this restaurant or that. You can get Dole Whip. Well, Dole Whip's a little bit more specific, but like a Mickey bar, popcorn, those you can get all over the place.
Well, I mean, you say that it's more specific, but it's getting less specific. You can get Dole Whip in multiple places now around Disney World, and I agree with you. Dole Whip is on my honorable mention. Like, get a Dole Whip, and my thought process was get a classic snack, and then I was like, but not the turkey leg. So I was like, Dole Whip.
Well, yeah, and I'm I'm giving you my
Mickey Premium Bar,
because we're essentially doing a list within a list, and I'm not putting that as my top 5 for snacks.
No, I understand. Like getting a classic snack at Disney is certainly a must do. It didn't make my list because it's not my top 5, but I agree with you. Like sitting back, not worrying about the world of like fast pass, because a Disney trip is stressful.
I know.
So get a classic.
We go hard. And that's kind of been our MO forever. I mean, we go ride after ride after ride, and our kids are good with it. They'll go hard with us. But sometimes reel in that fishing pole a little bit and just chill out.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good one. And you know, you really haven't been to Disney till you have a Disney or a Mickey Premium Bar at Disney, because they are not the same ones you can buy in the frozen food section of your grocery store.
Were you with us when my son got his Disney Premium Bar, walked away and
5 feet,
took a bite out of it, and like he didn't do anything crazy. I watched him. It's not like he was whipping it through the air. I was with you. He took one bite. It's probably 92 degrees, and the entire bar fell to the ground, and he's holding his stick looking at me like, what just happened?
I feel like it was me and my son and you and your son.
Yeah, we were in Adventureland.
Yeah.
So the nice thing was we went right back over, and he held up his stick, and the nice cast member was like, "Here you go, buddy. Sorry about that."
Yeah, because
they were really good about it.
It wasn't like he was being a jerk with it, or like being like, "Haha, look at me, dancing around."
I see some kids do that.
It just fell off the stick.
He was so bummed because he was hot.
It was really hot that day. Yeah.
So my number 5 is classic Disney snack and chill.
So my number 5 also has to do with maybe dialing back the pace of your vacation. And it really is, it's only at number 5 for me because dependent upon the length of your vacation, this isn't necessarily something I would say you have to do. If you're there for a short amount of time, I would not put this on my top 5, but I usually go for like, a week or more. And if you're there for a week or more, taking a day to go to Disney Springs is definitely on my top 5 must-dos, because you would be shocked. I know you're thinking, like, it's just an outdoor mall. Like, who cares? No. It is. There's amazing things to see there, whether it be the Lego statues or going into the Lego store, which if you have a Lego fan in your family, you've got to go there. Come prepared to spend a lot of money if you want to get some of this stuff. Legos are expensive.
We enjoy doing the create your own Lego figures.
Yeah, if you're there though on a busy day, the wait can be like. We went and the cast member was like, "Oh, it's a 45-minute wait." I was like, "We are not waiting to make a minifig."
Can you buy an individual lightning lane to make a minifig?
Right. Stand in virtual queue like you do for Gideon's, which is another reason you might want to go to Disney Springs.
Yeah,
there's a lot of reasons to go, and depending on the time of year you're there. You've got the Christmas tree stroll. You've got some of the best restaurants in Disney are at Disney Springs. Mm-hmm. So like there's that, but it's a good way to, you're not rushing, right? You're not feeling bad. If you're at Disney Springs, you're not feeling bad about being in a shop because it's literally what's there, as opposed to when you go into the shops on Main Street, which carry about all the same stuff that you'll get at World of Disney over in Disney Springs.
Yeah.
When you're in those shops on Main Street, you're like, I gotta go because I've got Big Thunder in 5 minutes, or I want to get back to this ride, or I want to get back to this ride. And honestly, it's nice to dial back that go mentality, just like you said with a snack. Relax, walk through Disney Springs, and get a different vibe. And so for me, one of the things for a first timer is go there, because you are going to A, be able to dial it back for a little bit, B, find some really good souvenirs. Like the pins over there are different a lot of times.
Yep.
They've got that Christmas shop in there with all sorts of crazy really nice ornaments. It's just an easier, more relaxed shopping experience than trying to shop in Memento Mori or something like that. So that's on my list.
I totally agree, and that's a great choice. And for many years, that's how we would start our trip. We didn't our last trip, but most trips, that's what we'll do our first day. And we go over there, and my daughter will pick out Mickey ears if she wants them. My son will pick out, whatever cool hat that he wants to get, or a pin, but I think that's great. And it's not on my list, but it should be after hearing that, given what we do every time. It's great. It's kind of like an appetizer before the meal. It's a really good appetizer. Well, maybe that's not the best.
Or even like in the middle of your trip, right? You've gone 2 or 3 days and it's like, oh, my feet hurt. Go over to Disney Springs, relax, sit back, look at do some people watching, go over into the Springs area. I think they actually call it the Springs area over by like Homecoming, where there's like the little bridges that goes over the actual springs, if you will, the hot springs, what the storylines behind. I'd catch a movie over there, do something over in Disney Springs to relax, because otherwise you're going to burn yourself out.
Bowling,
yeah, Splitsville.
Never done that. I always feel like
You've never
should.
bowled?
No, I've never bowled there. I've gone to the movies there. I've eaten at a good chunk of their restaurants that we can actually eat at. The Amphicar too, the car that you can drive right out into the water.
That is not cheap.
Which I haven't done there, but I have a family friend who owns one. I've done that, but never there before.
Yeah,
but that's a great one. Should be on my list. Good choice for sure. My number 4, I'm going to predict that you probably have on your list. So I'm going to be surprised if you don't have this one on your list. My number 4 is actually a classic mode of transportation, and that is ride the monorail.
It is not on my list. It's on my list of honorable mentions, but it's not monorail specific. It is ride all the Disney transportation.
Okay, gotcha. Monorail, I think specifically, and especially seeing what its counterpart is in Disneyland, the monorail is not only like beautiful and iconic design wise, and a kind of a different design than they have in California, but it's like important and integral and useful.
Yeah.
And it's not only transportation, but it's just kind of a fun ride. And it's so nice to look out the window and just see everything from high up and get kind of a better idea of the vantage point for everything. And it's just, for me, such an iconic part of going to Walt Disney World, because they have it in other countries, but in the U.S. in general, there aren't very many monorails, period. There's a few, but not many.
Okay. So I think, honestly, that all the transportation is kind of a valuable thing to do on your first trip.
Yeah, because I thought about that too with the Skyliner, but for me, if I'm looking at, I'm talking with a friend who says, hey, I know you do a podcast. Like, what do you think the most important things for me to do are? I think I would go specifically to monorail and not really Skyliner.
No, I think you're right. I don't think you're wrong there. I think that, to me, as a first timer, the monorail certainly is you cannot leave without getting on a monorail. I think really close behind that is you cannot leave without going on
the bus.
Dear God, no.
Sorry, I'm just trying to be funny.
If you can avoid the bus, that would be great. I would say what I think is probably a close second is riding the boat over from the TTC over to Magic Kingdom.
Oh, that's great too.
And then third on the list would probably be Skyliner. But
okay, I thought you were gonna say train. Train would be 4, like the Walt Disney World train
in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm thinking more about transportation to and from parks.
Okay.
I agree. Inside the park, yeah. I mean,
I'm just trying to think of like transportation that isn't like a ride or an attraction. But I guess the railroad, there's a line for you to wait to get on that, but then again, there's a line to wait to get on the monorail. So, yeah,
I think of that more as an attraction, whereas like the boats in Epcot to take you across the lagoon, I think those are more of a transportation.
Yeah, have you done that?
I've never done that.
Me neither.
I don't know why I know why I've never done it. I'm always walking around the world, but like
I gotta do that. That's one of those things that, it's a checkbox I haven't checked off with everything that I want to do in Walt Disney World.
Yeah, you can go say hi to the water tacos up close.
There's only 2 left.
I know. They're getting rid of them.
People who are listening in the future are like, those things are long gone. This episode's dated. I'm turning it off.
That's fine. The things you do on your first time still stands. You just can't go watch the water tacos.
We're still relevant, folks.
All right.
Okay, my number 4 is ride the monorail / asterisk from Nick, the modes of transportation in Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
So with an addendum, I'm jumping on yours. So that's well done. Your 4 is what?
My number 4 is a twofer, and it has to do with the opening and closing of a park. You don't necessarily have to do it one day, but I think that on your first time, you should rope drop and you should stay until the park closes. So I think that you need to do that for a number of reasons. First off, rope drop, you have no idea what the insanity of Disney is until you go at rope drop and you're like, what is going on? And you feel like there's so many people there. But then you don't realize how expansive the parks are until they release that rope.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, wait, there's really not that many people in here. Unless you're going to like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, in which case, that's a problem. And as far as closing the parks, that is where you really get to take in some things that are just absolutely breathtaking, whether it's walking through Animal Kingdom when it's getting dark. Haven't been able to do it because they're closing earlier now
at Pandora,
and haven't been able to go through Pandora. But Hollywood Studios at night is absolutely amazing. Magic Kingdom at night with all of the Main Street lights on. Epcot is, I love Epcot at night.
Well, especially the new LED lights on Spaceship Earth.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah, Epcot at night is just a whole other. I love that place at night. So closing down a park, I think, is just something you should do. So pick maybe not one day to do it, but pick a day and say today we're going to rope drop, and pick a day and say today we're going to close it. And I think you will be very happy that you did that. I suspect that might be somewhere later on Rob's list.
We'll see.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's head on over to hear your number 3.
My number 3 is, I kind of went back and forth. Do I say like visit all the parks? Like, then I thought, that's too general. We're going to automatically assume that for me, people are going to want to visit all the parks.
Okay.
So I'm going to go specifically to one park and do something specific there, because for me, Disney snack, I sort of mentioned Magic Kingdom, but you can get those snacks at all the parks. One thing I think is a biggie, and you just touched upon this, is stroll around World Showcase, because that doesn't really exist anywhere else that I know of, other than the only thing that I think is adjacent to it is we went to Virginia Beach last year, and Virginia Beach has sort of German themes, and they have I know one of them is Germany, but they have like different countries there, and they have rides themed to countries, but it's not even like in the same ballpark as what Epcot does. But strolling around the World Showcase, I feel like, again, no one's ever been to Disney before. Don't miss that. Like, don't stay up front. Could somebody miss going to the back? It's possible.
Yeah.
Especially with all the construction.
Well, and I will tell you right now that for years, I had heard Epcot is like, it's boring for kids. Nobody's going to want to go. It's not great. It's, nobody wants to go around it's so historic like, and it's like, and then like, because that's stuff I'm interested in. I was like, I'm going to go anyway. Then I went and I was like, wait a second. Like, this is the best part. Mm-hmm. It's the best part of the park. It used to be the best part of the park until they put in Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind.
Yeah.
However, that part of the park it's probably my favorite part of Disney World.
Yeah.
I could spend 2-3 whole park days just going from World Showcase Pavilion to World Showcase Pavilion. So this isn't on my list, and it's only not on my list because I didn't think of it. You are 100% correct, but you hear so many times people say, Epcot? Really? Like, kids aren't going to like it. Guess what?
Your answer is yes, Epcot, really.
Yeah, my kids love World Showcase. They love it.
It's great.
You get some really cool meet and greets, like just randomly you'll see Alice or Snow White.
Well, and the best
food is like, whether you want quick service or table service, the food is great.
And at first people were angry when in the Norway Pavilion they put in the Frozen ride.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you're taking away our beloved attraction. But you know what that does? That brings the kids back there.
Exactly.
And now over to Ratatouille, it brings the kids over and around.
Yep.
But it was already existed to a point with the sing along, which is horrible. Did you do that?
No.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I said.
You're talking about the one that's like Impressions de France.
Yeah, I love the Impressions de France movie. Love it. And oh gosh, I think we were so hot. We need to get in and watch it. It was really bad. Really, really bad. Anyway, my point is they bring in these things to to get the kids to want to go back there. And then when the kids are in Italy, they go, oh, this is really cool. Or in their Japan, they go into the shops and, oh, this is really great.
Yeah.
And then next time, hey, mom and dad, let's go walk around. Yeah, and then it's a thing. And then one more thing, at the front of the park, you mentioned that Guardians is one of the best things. What it's doing is it's stretching the quality from the very front to the very back. Now you got to go all the way to the back corner to see a really good thing, and then all the way in the front opposite corner to see a really good thing.
And it spreads the capacity.
Yes.
My son and my daughter like this part too, but my son's favorite, well, I shouldn't say favorite because he's not here right now, but one of his favorite things in all of Epcot is the church in Norway.
Cool.
Going in there and reading the plaques about the Norse gods and reading about, they've got the Thor and the Loki and that circular, looks like a log that's been carved out.
You guys spent a long time in there. Yeah, I remember I was outside putting on sunscreen.
It is.
And I was like, where is everybody? And you guys were in there for a while.
Because there's like a whole museum exhibit inside there, and it's like the artwork is good in there, and it's the strongest air conditioning in all of Disney World, I'm convinced. It's a really cool spot. So I think that's a great number 3.
I figured this would happen. There's so many musts that if I leave something off, we both can agree, I'm sure, with most of these.
Yeah. So my number 3, you actually just insulted, because you said there's no way you're going to put it on because it's just, of course, people are going to do that.
Well, I'm not insulting it. I just thought
so. My number 3 is
visit all the parks.
You got to go to all 4 parks.
Sure. I mean, I agree with that completely, but I just figured.
I know you weren't insulting it. I get what you're
not
saying.
At all. Like, it's definitely visit all 3 parks. Build it in
3
or 4. Sorry.
I
don't know where that came from.
Who'd you cut off?
All right, don't put this one on social media.
Okay.
That was a honest mistake.
No,
that wasn't a hard take or a goof up.
Rob just rewound to 1997, and there's no such thing as Animal Kingdom. Joe Rohde was, just a glimmer in our eye. Yeah,
I'm happy with Animal Kingdom. They gave me a 5th park too.
Yeah,
I love one of those.
Listen, if you have been told that Animal Kingdom's a half-day park, or you can skip Epcot right now because there's construction,
then you're not doing the right thing.
Yeah, if you've been told that, whoever's telling you that is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a lot of construction in Epcot that makes some of the park not a great part to be in? Yep. Guess where none of it is? World Showcase.
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom, there is so much to see there that if you give yourself a half day there, you are way underdoing the amount of things you have to see.
Then you need to do more research and find out what other great things there are to do.
Correct.
You need to listen to podcasts like this.
Yeah. Magic Kingdom is obviously, I don't think anybody's going to Disney and skipping Magic Kingdom, but maybe. And then, of course, Hollywood Studios. If anything, that's the half-day park. I know that it's got a lot of stuff, but me,
it could be with younger kids.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff.
A lot of intense rides in that far corner.
But I'll tell you, Hollywood Studios is also a great park to go later in the day. If you have park hoppers and you spent the day over at Epcot, you hop over on the Skyliner, check off the box of your transportation.
There you go.
And you go into Hollywood Studios in the evening. The way it's lit up, the way the boulevards are lit up, it's really cool. You go over to Toy Story Land. That's awesome at night.
Galaxy's Edge is pretty cool at night.
And guess what? People love to rope drop at that park. Mm-hmm. And as the day wears on, because it's a super hot park, people start to leave.
Well, it's kind of our plan. I think we left midday, but I mean...
Right. A lot of people do what we did.
Yeah.
When we went in there, we used Genie Plus.
And we went hard in the morning. We went home and chilled out.
We got everything done by 2:00. Yeah. We're see a piece. We're done. So I think you have to do all 4 parks your first trip. So whether that means that you have, 4 days, or you have, maybe you're only there for 3 days and you've got a park hopper, whatever the case may be, you need to do all 4 parks your first time there, because there's just so much it has to offer. And one member of your party may not like, or you yourself may not like, one of the parks you went to, but I guarantee you're going to fall in love with something at another park. And so there's something for everybody, but you got to go to all of them to find that something.
Yeah. And my 2 cents from going so many times too is, if you financially can do it and you can have a ticket for every day and you don't feel like you have to go hard from open to close and you have a little flexibility, that's great. You can take breaks, you can come back over. But if you can only go to every park one day, and that's the only way you can afford it for your trip, I highly recommend building in a day, either do two parks, break 2 parks, or do a park break, especially if you have younger kids who need a rest. So if you know you're going to do that, think about booking your vacation where there's time for younger kids to take a rest. And again, like I said at the beginning, the other way to do it too is if you can get, and this is kind of a nice thing, and Nick is better with the numbers on this, if you book more park days, it actually becomes cheaper once you get towards the back end. I remember at one point,
65. So like, for instance, a 10-day ticket, I think, is $64 per day.
Yeah. And it becomes a really good deal.
Yeah.
The more days you book, and then you don't have to worry as much. And then you're like, okay, I'm really only spending this much.
Right.
So if I'm going to the park from rope drop to 2:00, if we decide to not go back over and just rest, that's worth it to me. And you don't feel like, money's falling out of your pockets as you're walking.
Right. I mean, you're talking about adding, to add a day, you're talking about adding $65 a ticket, which I get it. It's not free, but it safeguards you against feeling like you gotta go.
Yeah.
Rope drop to close.
And that's just my advice for families who are going is you need time to recharge. You just do. And otherwise your kids are going to be cranky and angry or you're not just kids.
Everybody's going to be
if
cranky.
I don't
and
sleep
angry.
well, I'm going to be grumpy too.
Yeah.
Everyone in the family will be.
So what do you got for number 2?
Number 2, you mentioned earlier, and I'm going to do a little bit of addendum on it. And
Sure.
My number 2 is rope drop. So rope drop is obviously you have to get up mega early if you want to rope drop the park. Get there in enough time where you've planned ahead so that you're not getting on the boat and the boat is a mile long, or the
line's long.
I'm talking about Magic Kingdom specifically right now. Or if you're trying to get on the monorail, you got to get there in enough time so that you can get right up to the front when they let you back into the park. So the reason why I say this is a must do is I'm trying to think of all the different types of people that are listening and all the type of people that need to go. If you can't have Genie Plus in your budget and you don't want to spend that extra amount of money for everybody, how can I get right onto that one ride that I really, really want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And let's not talk about Tron. I don't want to get into that specifically or all that. Let's say, for example, your kid wants to do Frozen. That's the number one thing they want to do at Epcot, right? So you get there early and you go straight to Frozen, and it'll be a short wait. And that way you've gotten it. And you have the ability to do that ride without paying extra. So a must do on your trip, start off, rope drop, go right to that ride you want to do. And that way you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's a shorter wait.
It will kick off your day
in a positive way.
Yeah.
Because your kid won't be going, can we go to Frozen now? Can you check the waits on Frozen? Check the wait on Frozen. Look at the app. Tell me what it is, Mommy.
Yeah.
Mommy, can we go on it now?
Yeah. And the reality is this. It might be posted at like 80 minutes when you get back there. It's not 80 minutes that early in the morning.
No, they're trying to deter you to go somewhere else.
But here's what will be 80 minutes. That line 30 minutes after rope drop.
Yeah.
And it will stay that way for a while. And the same thing with Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Don't think that it's going to get shorter. It's not.
No.
It's going to stay long. So just do it. And that rope drop it's fun too. Like you get to see, like if you're at Magic Kingdom, you get to see the welcome show. And it depends too. If you're staying on property rope drop, there's the on property rope drop. And then there's the, you're staying off property rope drop. That's the half hour
difference.
Early entry there. Yep. Little hack, because you brought it up. If you're over at TTC and you're looking to go to Magic Kingdom and you're looking, I got the boat, I got the monorail. Which one do I want to take?
Which do I choose? Neither.
Take the bus, because everybody takes the monorail, everybody takes the boat. Jump on the bus from the TTC.
It's behind it, isn't it?
You're going to get there quicker.
Yeah, I think if you go, I think that's the same place for pickup and drop off for Uber too, I think.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So, but here's the thing. I would, it depends on where you're staying. I've never done it. I know this is the case, but I've never done it because when I'm rope dropping Magic Kingdom, I'm usually over at Poly. And so I literally get out of my DVC building and go to TTC like early. Like I'm just there early. But if you're rope dropping from, Pop Century, you got to get a bus from there to like it's not easy.
Yeah, and you got to get up at the crack of dawn, but it's worth it.
If you're rope dropping and like you're staying off property, you've just parked at Magic Kingdom, like you've waited in line to get into the parking lot. Mm-hmm. Now you're in the parking lot. You've walked or taken the tram to security. Like it's just, to me, I agree with you. Rope drop is so super important, but do your research ahead of time about what is actually the quickest way to rope drop.
Yep. So maybe that's an episode 2.
Yep. So my number 2 is something that I'm shocked we haven't gotten to yet, and I'm wondering if it's your number 1, and that's why we haven't touched upon it yet.
Well, you know me. You can probably guess what my number 1 is.
My number 2 is Memory Maker, which is the photo stuff.
Correct.
Okay.
You were right.
Okay. So
yes.
We can tag team this.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So my number 2 is Memory Maker, which happens to be Rob's number 1.
Yes.
It was
that's always my favorite thing.
I will be honest, this was my number 1. I flip-flopped last minute. You'll see why. But anyway, the Memory Maker is super handy to have. Yep. And you might not want to pay for it every time, although if you're going for a longer trip, it really does pay for itself as far as the memory photos you get, especially the ride photos. because at Walt Disney World they actually are in focus and there are lots of them.
Yeah, if you're a regular listener, we've talked about Photo Pass and how bad it is in Disneyland, and maybe we'll mention that on our guest spot that we're going to do on the Disneyland podcast.
Yeah.
I'll stop. Continue. I plenty to say in a minute. Go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
No, you're fine. Because we're going to tag team it anyways. But I honestly think that Memory Maker, I don't know that I will ever not do it.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And even, I mean, I don't want them to raise the cost, but like it's worth what it's worth. It's worth more than what they charge you for it now, especially for a longer trip. But if you're going for the first time, this is, I look back at my family pictures, right? And there's never 2 parents in a family picture. And there's a lot of times it's just the kids, and there's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially back in the day where you had film, right?
Yeah. They
were taking one photo and hoping that it came out because they only had so many rolls of film with them.
That's funny you say that.
And like, that's just the way it was.
I've shown you my Disney pictures from when I was a kid.
Yeah. How many of them have your mom?
Who's in it?
Yeah. You.
It's me, my mom, and my sister.
Yeah. Where's your dad?
Taking the picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Here you go.
There's very few. There's one. I have one really good one of the 4 of us at the Japan Pavilion in Epcot, and I don't know who took it, but I can tell you, I can count on one hand the number of pictures we have. All 4 of us.
And I would say 75% of the Photo Pass cast members you encounter are good at what they do.
Really good.
There's. I would say that there is 1 in every 4 that maybe is struggling a little bit with the whole camera stuff, but that's rare. And here's the other thing. I get that they'll do them with your phone. Like if you go up and you give them their phone. Trust me when I say it's not the same because the magic shots are worth it.
Yep.
The ride photos, because you're going to want them. And you don't want to have to be that person posting the ride photos.
that says
Photo Pass across it. You don't have to be that person posting that on Instagram.
Don't be that guy.
I mean, look, you can. I'm not insulting you if you don't want to spend the money. What I'm telling you is that for your first time, it is worth it. I have some of the best family pictures that I've ever had taken at Disney.
Yeah.
There was a really cool photo this past time. The photographer actually stopped and was like, I'm going to wait for that lady because my kids were taking a picture. I think it was in Magic Kingdom. Hold on. I got it on my phone right here. No, it was in Hollywood Studios in front of the Chinese Theater.
Yeah.
And my wife had went off to go fill up the popcorn bucket and came back and was being a jerk in the background.
I didn't know what lady you were talking about in the background.
Yeah.
That lady happens to be Nick's wife.
Yeah. So she was coming back. She was coming back from the popcorn buckets.
Great.
And she started doing this crazy dance in the background. And the guy goes, we're going to wait for that lady to get out of the way. And I was like, it's like, actually, that lady is their mother. Can you please just take the pictures? And he was like, oh, absolutely then.
Now it's funny. And now so okay, that's cool then.
But like the fact that he stopped because somebody was being, a jerk, he thought in the background.
Yeah.
But it was just my wife being funny. And the kids had no idea at first. But then, of course, they had to know because he stopped. But, those kinds of things don't happen when you're handing them your phone, right?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things don't happen when you're the one taking the picture. But and the cool thing is it comes right to your device. Mm-hmm. So your daughter took my daughter when we went on to Tower of Terror. And like we got off Tower of Terror, I was like, huh, looks like they went and found a PhotoPass photographer because there's
and
pictures.
They were really sweet. They were nice pictures. Yeah,
they were really good. So what there's a reason you put it number one.
Yeah. My advice, and the reason I put it number one is I'm thinking specifically for the listener who is still going for the first time. And my advice is start a tradition. And that tradition is every time you go, you get a photo in front of the castle, the Chinese theater, Spaceship Earth, and make that your family tradition. When you go, that's what you do. We started that the first time I took my kids, and actually it was one time my mom went with us. So there's a photo of there's both kids and my mom, and I don't think there's one of all five of us, but doesn't matter. Either way, we have that as our tradition, and it's came up this week too because we have a frame upstairs that has 4x6 photos of every trip that we've gone on, and we haven't put in the last two or the last three. I think this Disneyland trip is the third one. We have a great one with all 8 of us with Nick's family and my family in the photo together. It's such a great picture with we were
wearing our Snow White
and the Seven Dwarfs shirts, and we're all lined up in rainbow order.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful picture. So I ordered the frame this week. I ordered the photos from Shutterfly, and they're coming. And as I was putting this list together, I said, you know what? That's my number one to share with everybody, because that is something that is super special, and it's always a reminder when I see it in the hallway that this is cool. We have this every single time. So take my advice, do that. And then the only other thing I will share that is another tradition for our family that has to do with the photos is we always, not always, because sometimes like when we're at Disneyland, we didn't know where the photo was. We like to do funny stuff when we're doing the ride photos, whether it's we're playing Uno or Nick and I are playing rock, paper, scissors, or we like to have a lot of fun with the photo pass, and those memories are so cool. Our most recent trip, we were getting on Expedition Everest in Animal Kingdom, and my wife is on her phone. She goes, you know what? A year ago we were here, the same park, doing the same thing, and she brought up the picture. And as we were on Expedition Everest, all of us had like our right hands in the air doing like this fist pump thing, and we're like, let's do it again. So 1 year later, we reenacted the exact same picture. So then we have that kind of as a fun tradition too. So my number one, not just specifically PhotoPass and Memory Maker, but start that tradition. It's your first time, do it. I regret making my flip-flop. But wait, should we go back and like erase all that? And
no, I do stand by my number one, because one and two for me, I think are very solid, and they're important to me.
Can I guess?
Sure.
Have a great meal at Disney.
No, I didn't.
Really?
No, I have.
You're such the foodie guy.
Yeah, it's not my number one.
What's your number one then?
My number one is to enjoy the fireworks.
Oh, okay. Great.
So, but from the park, okay? So you got to be in the park. What I mean by that is like,
if you're the Polynesian and you're laying on the beach, that's cool, but it's not it.
Right. So Disney does fireworks better than anyone. I don't know anyone anywhere who does fireworks like Disney. And it's because it's a multimedia experience. It's not just the explosions of the fireworks. It's the songs, it's the projections, and there's just something to be said about being in that crowd of people. And I will tell you, people get emotional at those fireworks for a reason.
Yeah.
There is a reason that people lost their mind when it was announced that Happily Ever After was coming back. My first trip, my first and only trip, right? We were only going once, so we're doing it big.
You got to tell the story all the time.
Yeah.
Again, if we have a first-time listener, tell the story quick.
Yeah, I told Rob.
It's really a good story.
Yeah,
and
I told
you can
Rob.
tell this many times.
Yeah, I told Rob. I was like, I'm just going the one time. So we're going to do it big. We're going to go, do it up, and love it. And then That's it. And Rob goes, no, you won't. And I was like, yes, I will, Rob. I've got a lot of other stuff I want to do. 350 DVC points later, and planning trips, out for the next 7 years to figure out what my point budget is.
Well, and our friend Brian, who I think is there now, actually.
Cool.
I think our friend Brian, our listener friend, he was kind of the same way. I think I'm just going to go one time. Yeah. And then, like, even in the planning process, Brian was just loving it and, booking all kinds of fun stuff. And I said to him, I go, this is not a one and done trip for you.
Yeah. I feel like it's like Jonathan Groff. You'll be back. You know what I'm saying? It's my son's favorite song from Hamilton. Anyway.
I like Jonathan Groff.
So I think that it's important that you see it from the park, because it from specifically Magic Kingdom fireworks. If you do one of the other ones, great. But they do fireworks better than anybody else. And here's the thing. On my first trip, we got a the dessert party viewing. And, being able to see it from, the Tomorrowland Terrace, it's not actually at the terrace, it was from the lawn there. You get a new respect for the work that went into those shows, but I've seen them in a bunch of different spots. I've seen them standing on Main Street over by the plaza. I've seen them standing in the middle of Main Street. I've seen them from straight in the hub, like I said, when we were at Tomorrowland Terrace there for the dessert party. It becomes a tradition, right, that you can have. So you talked about tradition, but it's a tradition with our family. You go and you watch the fireworks, and it doesn't matter that you've seen that fireworks show 1,000 times even. It doesn't matter that you can go to YouTube and watch it from a better view. Being there and feeling that percussive feeling in your chest when the firework goes off, seeing the projections, hearing the music, it brings me back to being a child and seeing those fireworks on the 4th of July and being like so in awe. So I think that a fireworks spectacular like they have at Magic Kingdom, especially now that they have Happily Ever After back, with the projections all the way down Main Street, you'd be doing yourself a disservice on your first trip if you didn't experience something that Disney does better than anyone. You can argue about rides, right? You could argue that Universal does rides better. You could argue about food. You could argue about, just the park experience. You can't argue, in my mind, about the fireworks at Magic Kingdom. They are the best theme park fireworks in the world.
I can't argue it.
So that's how I feel. And that's why it's my number one thing that you need to do on your first time on a trip to Disney World.
So when my students participate in art shows, we have an all-county art show that we participate in every year. And in those art shows, they give out awards. And in the awards, you get a second place, a first place, but then there's a best in show.
Yeah.
So I think what has happened on this episode organically, we didn't plan for this. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I think what has become best in show for both of us is traditions.
Yeah.
So I think that has kind of become kind of best in show for all of us. Although we both had first place, I think our overarching theme for this particular episode is going to be that create traditions with your family.
Yeah, I agree. And I have some honorable mentions that we didn't already say that I think are also important to note. So Rob thought my number one was going to be something about enjoying a good meal at Disney.
No, I know that's what you love. You have the foodies in your family.
So I think that you should do that if you're into food. But if you're not, I get it. So that's why I didn't put it in my top 5, because not everybody is a foodie family.
Right. Or but I would say one of my honorable mentions is a Disney balloon. I love the Disney balloons. I loved them when I was a kid. I get a weird feeling when I see the Disney balloons, but maybe you don't want to carry that around all day.
Right. Yeah. So, I think
you don't want to sit down and have a meal.
Right. I think there's a little bit for everybody. So, yes, table service was on my, enjoying a really nice table service meal was on my honorable mention. But I think one that is really important that I almost missed out on, and I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I took the time to do it right my first trip, and you should too. And it's an honorable mention. It is sitting down for some of the classic shows like the Tiki Room or you don't want to skip the Tiki Room and skip Country Bear Jamboree and skip Carousel of Progress, and like when you start skipping all of those things, you're missing out on classic Disney.
Right, or even Muppets.
Yeah.
In, any of those other shows too are great.
PhilharMagic, or going and sitting in on, going to like the presidents and going to the Hall of Presidents.
Yeah.
You don't skip all of the classic shows. You got to see some of those classic shows.
Yep.
So that was another honorable mention I wanted to make sure we got in there. Do you have any others left?
No, I just have one closing when you're ready.
Yeah, sure.
So my closing thought for this episode is the title of the episode. And the title of the episode is First Time, right?
Right.
List for first timers.
Mm-hmm.
The list for this episode is not only timers. So we encourage everyone that this should be your first time. This shouldn't be your only time going, to build the traditions, enjoy Disney for what it is, and make it, part of what you do moving forward. Your kids will appreciate it, and there's always new things to discover, and it's why we love it. It's why we keep going back.
Yeah, and I would jump on and piggyback and just say that it's okay if you think it's going to be your only time to still call it first time.
Yeah.
And, it might take you 5, 6, 7 years to get back, but I promise you, if you do it right the first time, you're going to want to go back. And some of these things that we say, oh, it's tradition. Yeah, we do our traditions every year.
Yeah.
You might do your traditions once a decade. You might do your traditions once every 5 years. But you're going to remember something that made an impact on you. And I'll bet it falls somewhere on one of our lists.
I bet.
So I agree with you. It's been a lot of fun doing this show. I'm really looking forward to our recording session we're going to have tomorrow with Rope Drop and Park Hop. But it's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow is just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.